Hi, PerspectaWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday, January 21st. Well, some of the coldest air so far this season has infiltrated much of the eastern U.S. all the way down to the state of Florida. Low temperatures this morning in the low to mid-teens in many suburban locations along the I-95 corridor region in the Mid-Atlantic region. For example, Gaithersburg, Maryland, 16 degrees last hour. Pottstown, Pennsylvania in southeastern part of the state, 13 degrees. Morristown, New Jersey, 16 degrees. All the way down to Florida, again, cold air this morning. Orlando, 44 degrees at last hour. Later on tonight, early tomorrow morning, a place like Miami, Florida could actually drop down to the same levels, 43, 44 degrees for overnight lows. All of this with very strong high pressure in complete control of the eastern half of the nation. A couple of storms to deal with, it looks like, for the next week to 7 days or so in the Mid-Atlantic, in the Northeast U.S. First one comes in the Friday night, Saturday, Sunday time frame, and then another one is likely during the middle or latter part of next week, and we'll kind of talk about the players involved for this weekend storm. First of all, very strong high pressure over the middle part of the nation this morning with very high central pressure readings around 1050 millibars, and that has sent cold air all the way down into the state of Florida, the cold frontal system all the way into central Cuba, and again, Orlando in the 40s this morning, all of central Florida in the 40s, and southern Florida will see the 40s in the overnight hours. Low to mid-teens along the suburban areas in the I-95 corridor region. This high stays in control over the next couple of days with a continuation of dry conditions, but also quite cold. Well, let's take a look at the 500 millibar forecast maps from last night's operational run of the GFS at 0Z. We talked yesterday about the main player here is a vigorous wave in the upper part of the atmosphere, and exactly how far south and east that upper level low digs will determine how far south and east the cold air will be. Cold air in terms of the possibility of snow. Right now, in the immediate I-95 corridor region, it looks like odds favor rain or perhaps a combination of rain and snow. You have to go inland, farther inland, for the likelihood of snow. It looks like a snow event for northern New England, places like New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. They've been pounded with significant snow in recent storms. Looks like this one, too, will bring some substantial snow accumulations. New York State, primarily a snow event, and interior portions of southern New England looks like they'll get snow out of this weekend storm. So let's take a look at the upper level feature. It is not this. This is the current map here. Let's just move forward here in time and see exactly where this GFS model run has the weekend system here. Now we're going into the day on Thursday, and here it is showing up on the maps right here over the northern plains. We keep moving forward here. It kind of spins around, rotates around into the Ohio Valley by Friday night, and then that drops a little bit to the east, maybe a little bit east-southeast, and here we are by Saturday afternoon. And in this particular location, the I-95 corridor is probably not cold enough for snow, maybe a combination of rain and snow at some portion of this storm, but primarily a rain event here. If this upper level low, on the other hand, digs a little farther to the south and east, it brings the colder air a little bit farther to the south and east as well. And it's certainly still time for that to change. Still a few days away from this event, but right now, the way this is setting up is a significant snow event for northern New England, maybe New York State, and again the interior portions of Pennsylvania, southern New England. But along the I-95 corridor, odds favor rain or perhaps a combination of rain and snow. Let's keep moving forward here into the day on Sunday, and then in typical fashion on the backside, we'll have probably another cold and windy day to follow this weekend system. Well, let's now take a look at the surface forecast maps, and again we'll take a peek ahead at the potential second storm to the middle or latter part of next week. First of all, high pressure, very strong high pressure in control, centered over the middle part of the nation, and again cold air from New England all the way down to Florida. Look at these isobar pattern right now over the state of Florida. Screaming north winds, bringing in cold air, coldest air of the season all the way down into Florida. Again, overnight tonight, you can see temperatures drop to 43, 44 degrees in places like Miami by early tomorrow morning. Now let's move ahead here, and we'll see this high pressure system in control. There is low pressure off the coast of Florida, the Bahamas, but it will not impact much of the nation, any of the nation, except for the fact that it will create some strong winds, certainly along the Florida coastline over the next 24 to 48 hours or so. High pressure eventually moves overhead here by late tomorrow night in the Mid-Atlantic region. Here we go, some moisture already showing up on the forecast map here in the center part of the nation by tomorrow afternoon. Now let's move forward here. What it appears will develop over the latter part of the week is low pressure over the Ohio Valley. This is the Friday night forecast map. Cold enough in some of the higher elevations across eastern West Virginia, maybe southwestern Pennsylvania as this event begins. Low pressure both aloft and at the surface level over the Ohio Valley. And that might be the initial push of a low pressure system into the Ohio Valley. Eventually, there will be a secondary forming along the Mid-Atlantic coastline, and where that forms and how quickly that forms will determine how far it's to the south and east that cold air can come, and how much of a rain-snow mix will fall in the I-95 corridor region. Let's move ahead here. Here we are late Friday night now into Saturday morning. Again, current conditions look like favor rain, primarily rain in the immediate I-95 corridor region. There doesn't rule out the possibility of a mix at some point during this event, but primarily snow in interior sections of New York and New England. Let's keep moving forward here, and there's that development of that low along the Mid-Atlantic coastline. So there may be an initial wave of low pressure, moves into the Ohio Valley, and then a secondary forms on Saturday along the Mid-Atlantic coastline. At this point in time, colder air could seep in on the west side of this particular low pressure system and maybe change the rain to snow, especially across higher elevations of, let's say, east central Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, maybe even into the I-95 corridor regions. Something we'll have to iron out over the next few days. And then snow, certainly for northern New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. Looks like they'll get significant snow again, and certainly most sections of upper New York State will get significant snow as well. And again, right now it looks like interior sections of southern New England. And there we go on the backside of this, another cold and windy day setting up. Same kind of timetable as last week, and with the precipitation last weekend on Saturday, and then cold and windy conditions for the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. on Sunday. Similar pattern shaping up for this upcoming weekend. And again, significant snow up across northern New England by the latter part of the weekend. Let's just now kind of jump ahead several days and show, again, there are signs for a second storm 3 or 4 days later. And here we go into the middle part of next week. The GFS has a pretty impressive system developing down across the southern states, and then that pushes a significant rainfall right now, the way it looks, into the Mid-Atlantic region for next Thursday. And that's a week from this Thursday we're talking about here, but way too off to be specific about that one yet. Although I do want to point out that it looks like there'll be a second storm after the weekend storm. We'll have another one during the mid or late part of next week. So still a few days to iron out some details for this weekend event that looks like it'll impact the Mid-Atlantic region, Northeast U.S., Friday night, Saturday into the day on Sunday. Cold, dry conditions for the next couple of days thanks to that very, very strong high pressure system now centered over the middle part of the nation. That's it for now. For PerspectaWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.